We're live. Do I want to post this somewhere? Should I find the link? Should I find the link? Is it?
What are we doing today?
We're here. We're gonna talk about Kanban. Kanban should be spelled with a C because you can and do things. Do you want me to post the link somewhere?
I just put the YouTube channel.
Oh, I guess that works. Cool. So we're kind of whispering because Will's taking a nap. This might also be a little bit clunky because we didn't actually rehearse this before it happened.
Yeah.
So here we go. What is a Kanban? It's basically a to-do list that's been turned into something that you can use to manage your tasks. Or like it's movable, I guess, so it's not just like on a piece of paper. But here we go. So, you want me to take all of these off?
Well, just so we can show what's happening in the middle.
What's happening in the middle?
Well, maybe you can explain like when should you use this?
Well, actually, so Kanban first started. It was first started by some Japanese person. I can't remember their name. It's Japanese for the Korean equivalent of kanban, which is like board. But initially it was started for something called like, I looked this up since the last time I did a video about it, just-in-time manufacturing, because a lot of times when you're working in places that like people are sharing resources or there's like separate like workflows that you have to go through, things get like lost or like you don't actually get them done. So I guess this person created it to create like a workflow that like teams can work around and also see where their resources are. If it's like, oh, we need to pull in an engineer, we need to pull in a designer. I don't know like what else is required for like manufacturing. But you can see like who's available and then what has to get done.
When do you use it the most?
Yeah, so my Kanban is an adaptation for my personal task management. Though when I first learned how to use it, it was in a team setting. Yeah, but I just use it to manage like different work tasks, even like chore type things, not like doing the dishes, but like call the pediatrician's office to make sure like we're getting Will's vaccinations on time or like something like that.
Like what would you rate as like important enough to be able to go on the Kanban list?
Well, I feel like for
and what's not important to go on the Kanban list?
I mean, I think it really depends on the person, because if you're a type of person that like needs everything to be written out in order for you to be able to do it, then I would suggest just writing all those things out actually. But for me, I feel like I put stuff on that like don't happen regularly, so not like things I have to do every day, but like if we do have to go get like Will's vaccinations, or like I do have to set up like our bills to be on auto pay before we leave for the States, that type of stuff is like life chores that I would put on a Kanban.
Or something unusual, like throw away the carpet or something. Or is that too simple?
I feel like that's just something I'd be like, Justin, go throw the carpet away.
How come I don't have a Kanban list?
Why don't you have a Kanban?
I don't function with it that way.
Okay.
I do make lists, but organizing my list goes too far.
Well, yeah, I guess it also depends on like what kind of tasks you're working on and like how different those tasks are, or like how much of like your attention some of those tasks require. But yeah, we're saving all our sticky notes for my future candidates.
Let's see where are they.
Here we go. And these are my keynote notes.
Ooh, you didn't make a Kanban list for the keynote?
I mean, it basically is a Kanban. All right.
All right, so walk us through how do you
Cool.
make a Kanban list?
So a Kanban in its simplest form is just a to-do list, but instead of having a checklist with like bullet point items of what you want to do, where did my marker go? Oh.
Whoa, what is all that back here?
Ta-da! Instead of having just like a full list on one sheet of paper that has like a bunch of stuff you have to do, you break it into different, like a flow. So basically, this is how, let me show you how like it traditionally is, and then I'll show you how I've adapted it for myself. So you have to-dos, and then you would write each to-do on a separate sticky note. So it would be like, write an invoice. Read the assignment. Draft the research report. Call the pediatrician or something. And then the next column would be doing now. And then the last one would be done. So this is a traditional Kanban. What are tasks that you have to do? What are you going to work on right now? And then once you're done, you can move it into the done column. Ta-da!
So in the simplest form, it's just 3 columns.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's 3 columns. I guess like, I don't think most people use this for like personal use. So if you're working with a team, you would have different like rows essentially of like what different people are going to do or where your resources are. And each person would have their own row of their to-dos, what they're working on now and done.
So if it was me and you, what would it look like?
It would look like this. I can't draw on this wall, but let's just say, imagine a fake line here.
Oh, okay.
I'd be doing this stuff and you'd be doing this stuff. But let's say it's like, oh, I'm like writing an invoice, but I need you to like provide the receipts for me to write the invoice. And let's say you haven't done that yet, then what we used to do is like put a blocker up waiting on Justin. Justin receipts.
How is this different or more useful than like Trello?
I mean, I feel like for me, well, so when I used it in a group setting, I feel like the reason it was useful was because we would have like meetings at the Kanban every morning before we started. So it'd be a 5-10 minute meeting where it's just like, hey, like what's everybody working on? What do you need from other people to like actually do the tasks that you have to do? And it was just like an easy way to like interact with a physical board versus like Trello where it's like people have to like scroll through screens and stuff like that. And I feel like something about it like being tangible also like helps. But it's essentially the same thing. I think it depends on like how your brain works. Should I show you how I use it?
Yeah.
So I actually noticed that I was doing it backwards when I made the last video, but I have a to-do list here. Oh no. What should we do? He's only been...
All right, well.
All right, so to recap, a Kanban in its simplest form is a to-do list. The to-dos go traditionally on the left because it's like, here's all the stuff we have to get done, here's the stuff we're working on now, and here's the stuff when it's done. But I use it and have my to-do... Should we turn the sound machine off?
Oh, sure.
I can go turn it off.
Where are you going?
Go turn the sound machine off. Why are you so scared of your room now? What happened? Okay, so I have my to-do list at the end and I actually call it just eventually because it's tasks I have to get to eventually. So all my to-dos live here. And I guess it's like this because if you're looking at the board chronologically from left to right, it's like left is what's happening now. The stuff happened later and this is eventually. So I have a couple extra columns. My doing now column is actually called right now. I need some more sticky notes. And then I have 2 coming up columns. I don't think you need two. I don't even know if you need one, but mine is today. So all the other stuff I have to get done today, tomorrow, just so I can plan ahead a little bit. And then my done actually just goes in the trash. Whoops, or our Christmas tree. Yeah, so what I do, at the beginning of the day, well, not the beginning of the day because I feel like will happens at the beginning of the day, but when I finally sit down to work, I'll look at my eventually list. Usually things aren't all in here because I'll have them lined up here from before, but if I have a bunch of stuff here, I'll take a look at what I need to get done and then move one of them into my right now list. And that's the one thing I'll work on right now.
Wait, well, show me these really quick one more time. The first.
Which one's the headings?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my columns are right now, today, all the stuff I have to get done today. Let's get rid of these things. The intermission is over, folks. Right now, today, tomorrow. I guess that could also just be like this week or something, like stuff that's coming up in the near future. And then I have eventually, which is everything I have to do at some point. And my eventually list actually has stuff even for like February 2021 right now, because I got an email about some stuff I have to do and I don't want to go back and look for that email, so they're just on my eventually list as tasks. Yeah, so that's my Kanban.
Nice.
Hey, bud. Why do I think Kanbans work versus traditional checklists? I'm glad you asked.
Tell us.
Well, like Justin was asking before, like, what's the difference between a Kanban or like this versus like Trello or some online software or app? And I think one of it is actually just being able to like move stuff. I think another thing is like people's traditional checklists. If you have like just a sheet of paper with all of your tasks or to-dos on it, it doesn't have a priority setting. So I feel like when people see just like a list of like 10 things they have to do that day, sometimes you're just like, oh my gosh, I have so much stuff to do. Where do I start? I'm just not going to start. So I feel like priority setting, actually being able to see and move things. And then if you're using this in a group setting, I think it's more helpful than people having their own personal checklists, because you can like see what other people are working on and you can like meet around it. So you can be like, hey guys, this is what's happening today. Like, I'm working on this, so I can't actually work on this. Or like, if I work on this, somebody else has to do this, type of thing. I think another reason it works for me is because if I have all my tasks written out already and I have a vague idea of like when I have to do things, when I sit down to work, I can just pick a task to work on. I don't have to spend like 5-10 minutes trying to figure out what I have to do, because I feel like that can also be like a little bit of a hurdle to overcome if you're just like, if you have to sit down and figure out what you have to do every single time you sit down. So yeah. Yes. Are you pooping? Let's see what else. Oh, some tips. I mean, these are just my talking notes.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions? I can give you some tips.
Tips.
Some tips. I don't know if you noticed. Well, actually, this one's like the first one. I feel like one thing that people don't realize when they're like working on stuff is that you can actually really only work on one thing at a time. So the reason that I have just like a separate like right now column versus just like a doing column is because that thing that's in my right now column is the one thing that I'm working on. And if I like don't feel like working on it, I'll just switch it and work on something else. But the point is just having one thing and then like being able to finish it and then put it in your done pile or just like throw it away. Another thing is writing out your checklist as action points. So instead of like having a sticky note that says invoice, I have write an invoice. It's a small difference, but I feel like it being an action that you can take helps. Yes. And then the last thing, oh, where's this pacifier? Here, you want some juice? And then the last thing, at least for me, is breaking down things into smaller tasks. So if it's like, I don't know, what's an example? Like video, let's say, it would be like edit the video, upload the video would be two different tasks because they're like different things. Like editing a video is very different than like uploading or publishing a video. And like uploading and publishing might have something, other tasks under it, like write a description, like do the tags, create a thumbnail, versus like editing, which is like look through footage, like whatever. Yeah.
Do you want to play with this, buddy?
Ouch. No, he wants to crawl around.
Okay. Any last words?
Nope. Hope this was helpful. I don't know if it was more helpful than the Insta story I made, but here you go.
Yeah, maybe the Insta story was more helpful. Okay.
Oh, we didn't have a crying Will.
Yeah. Say goodbye, buddy. Say bye-bye.
I hope you make it to bedtime today.
Yeah.
Don't break Dad's lens. What were the comments?
So Hyla said hi.
Hi.
Alright, we'll end the live. Thanks for joining us.